Hello, everyone, and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming full moon in the sign of Cancer on the 13th or 14th of January, depending on where you are on the planet, of course, 2025. Now, this full moon is very mysterious on one hand. I have to tell you that one straight off the bat because it holds a trine with Neptune, the moon, first of all, from the sign of Cancer, and it is conjunct Mars. Mars is in a bit of a difficult situation, so to speak, because it still feels Pluto's influence, the opposition they held, but even now they're holding it just as it's out of sign. But perhaps Pluto strongly disciplining Mars. So this Mars that we are experiencing right now feels very, very different because it's not our typical Mars. Actually, I was born with Mars in Cancer, so for me, it does feel a half typical, but it's retrograde, and mine was direct. So maybe for people who have Mars retrograde in Cancer, for those people, it feels empowering. However, empowerment when it happens is painful. So don't expect the happy joy. Expect when a warrior survives the impossible battle, well, he's not going to celebrate. He's going to probably break down and cry and even question if he should be alive or not, if he's now, if this happens or is happening to you right now, one way or another symbolically, well, this is a good thing. These are tears of kind of empowerment, self acceptance. You know, when you look into the mirror of a lake, for example, and what looks back at you is you ultimately, but it is a bit more fantastic that you could ever see yourself as. This is that type of energy. But what this has to do with each and every one of us based on our life story, and I must say, life story is that which we also write, so not something that is forced upon us, because if life feels at this moment with Mars retrograde, right, in Cancer, that something is forced upon us. And this doesn't have to be just the typical example, an expression of what we see each and every day playing out. For example, this can have a spiritual side where it's not something you can name that happening in your life right now or has happened as an event. It might be just a religious ideology haunting you for the rest of your life. Especially people who were born in very rigid religions carry traumas for the rest and they have no clue. While other people are conditioned by the traumas and they stop being their sun sign's highest expression forever. Anyway, who are we to actually judge this and who am I to comment? But as I said, for some people, the Cancer prison can be just an idea, ideology, a thought that haunts them for the rest of their lives. While Mars retrograde at this moment is really trying to break out the containment. But with Pluto, opposed by Pluto, not in a typical Mars way where all that matters is the break free, nothing else. No. Organized, wise, to make it work for yourself and to be relevant for the future kind of way. So hold your horse. But of course, Mars retrograde is hold our horses. But this energy is hand in hand with the moon. And the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. Uh, so this is a very strong emotional energy, Very, very strong. And when I say emotion, well, of course, it can have a lot of other expressions where it's nurture, it is home, but not just the physical side, any side of the home. So for some souls out there, this will also give a strong boost to redecorate something and make it more artistic or more permissive to the soul, ultimately to the art, than ever before. For others, finding where home is, sense of belonging. For others, still anything that can have to do with unconditional love, family, acceptance, integration, embrace. Cancer, some might say Pisces, but this full moon happens in the Piscean decan of Cancer, so embrace, the sign of embrace. And I would say Cancer because the crab, the claws, the structure of the organism we call the crab. It's meant to embrace even its prey, ultimately. It's meant to hug to the chest. Chest is Cancer. The breast, the nurture, the feed. Goddess Hathor. But of course, Cancer is the host of Sirius. A Sirius fixed star. And thus basically the well of the divine feminine, the portal of what feminine and the divine feminine nurture, soul, moon, milk, whatever means. This particular full moon is also conjunct, well, this is a fixed star that is very, very popular, so I'm very sure many have heard about it, and this is Pollux. This is part of the constellation of Gemini, the twins. So, in a way that is unrelated to Western tropical astrology, Gemini, anything that means Gemini might feel this full moon very strongly. One of the twins. What happens with one of the twins? Well, conjunct Mars, empowerment. Opposed by the sun means ego and also the inner identity, that which is non-ego, face each other, full moon opposition. And the thing is, this is like a truth being dished out type of energy, but that can be profoundly healing. This fixed star has the nature of both Mars and the moon, and it so happens that these planets are conjuncted. Okay, let's ignore Mars, because, okay, you might say, Mars isn't really conjunct Pollux, is it? Okay, no, technically speaking, but the moon is conjunct Mars in a real way. It's tight enough to be a conjunction. So the moon itself is charged, ignited by Mars, even retrograde. So imagine the moon, water, Cancer, water, Mars like a tool. I don't know how you call those little stirry things, where you stir your coffee with it or whatever, milkshake or whatever, and it's like a little, I don't know, stirry thing. You press the button and zzz, does that, and it stirs the thing for you. That's how one can envisage this full moon, what Mars does. But because it's retrograde, it also heats up the water. It also emits heat. So things are going to be boiling. Thank God for Neptune, because ultimately, the trine to Neptune is, well, the divine spirit, love, the positive, the flowy, the elated part of the water element. Well, okay, if we necessarily want an illusion. However, this illusion the illusion of love does not have to be the bad kind. Love in itself expressed in earth, not as it is felt in the divine heart, including ours, the way it's expressed when it leaves the heart is imperfect and is meant to be imperfect, just like our world, universe, cosmos, whatever. Perfect imperfection. So you can imagine everything is an illusion a bit. So Neptune is not always the total deceiver. But you know, the devil, right? Always a lie, but always a truth. Well, Neptune is the devil, a part of it, if we want to necessarily, the spirit. Well, the spirit is any spirit, every spirit, any spirit, right? Okay, Pluto might be the more direct expression of the devil in a effect sense, while Capricorn with Saturn ruling it is the more traditional esoteric viewpoint of what the devil is. And however, Neptune is the spirit part, the illusion part of it, that which is and isn't. That this, is it me? Am I this sick, twisted, evil, and any other expression like that, effed up? Or is it just the devil in me? Good question, but this is Neptune, and no one can answer this. This, is it me or is it the devil, is non-answerable in a external direct way. We have to choose what we do with it, shutting it out. And this is the biggest lesson of this Mars retrograde, shutting out aggression or whatever you want in a tyrant way is, it's gonna anger its spirit and it's gonna come back more vengeful, right? Integrating, and you know, a cliche that used in psychology, astrology, mysticism, anything, a cliche, but at the same time, just let's not use this word, because probably it's the word itself that annoys us so much. But what this really involves is not kicking something out. This is when you don't smoke it out and curse it out and shut the door and expect it to smile. It will come back. And any spirit, I don't even want to say spiritual person, because even non-spiritual do this. You know what you're doing. You're kicking it out. You're uninviting it aggressively. But the same goes for what's inside of you. And there, you're not gonna inhale the sage, right? There you are the sage. So kicking it out works, but it will come back more angry and vengeful. When you finally sit down with it, who are you? What do you want? Why are you part of me? Why are you in me, in the sense that then we get to the bottom of things, because it will answer with the childhood memory that created it, and etc., etc. But when we sit down and investigate and integrate it, it's what it says. This is my story. This is how I came to be. This is what I'm doing, my role, and you will not banish me forever. And then you wake up to the fact that I'm not banishing it forever. That is not gonna work long term. And then then comes the moment when you understand, find solutions, find acceptance. Things come together in a truer sense. You don't need to sage anymore. This is where the savage wolf, or if you look at Russia, the bloodthirsty bear, can also be a, I don't know, TikTok star, or because it's almost like human, right? You tamed, but taming means a lot of love, a lot of love. So Pollux, the fixed star Pollux, is gonna highlight all of this. What it is that we do not do in a very loving way in our lives, to us, to our family, to our loved ones, everyone who we nurture and care about. Because there is things that we do with true soul love. It oozes out from us. But there are things that we do for codependency, and we don't even know that we don't love anymore. And I'm just speaking about certain gestures, energies, routines, things that we do. And when we identify when love isn't there, then we can change. Then it will not come to a burnout or a big blockage, because we take care of it. But when we see that love is there, another expression of Pollux in this sense, that, well, when you see that what's wrong with you is that you have so much love and you cannot give it, there's nothing and no one to give it to, it's suffocating you, then don't live the lifestyle that is doing this. Don't let the ideal, the principle, mess you about. Understand what makes you happy and unhappy, and make the choice regardless of what you need to give up on. Release. Neptune release, Neptune tears, flow, wash, water, the purge, cleanse, but with water. What we need to release, we need to release in order to truly live in our truth, right? Because there are certain things, primitives, right? People, everyone, hundreds of years ago, the primitives, as they call them. However, they did something that almost no one alive today can do. Be. But be means full honesty, where your mind does not even question your feeling, not even a spark of it. You don't know what it means to question it. That's unconceivable. That is such a harmonious state of being that life is different. Those generations, those souls, us in that timeline, okay, right? We lived in a different emotional dimension when fear, whatever you want, didn't feel like it does today. It felt different. It was a high. Now it is a prison and a nightmare and pure torture. But what was different 300 years ago? What we call the inner demon was not defined. The person was itself, just itself. It couldn't be it was an animal. But when an animal chose love, anything pure, to rise above its condition, of course the universe showered it with whatever it could dream of, glory, or how can it not? It won't shower us, though, for the same things. So let's be honest. Let's be real here. We are different. Our emotions are different. This love is not the love that was 300 years ago. This love, even in its purest form, has too much mind in it, and right? I don't need to explain, and we need to accept it for what it is. Some of us can't, but why? We are attached to something that we remember, but not from this life. Sorry, let it go. And I'm saying this to myself as well. We must work, live, eat on a soul level, right? Relationship-wise, even, with what's available, right? Because this is the big problem that we have nowadays. No one wants what's available. Every single one of us is obsessed by what we don't have. And we narrow it down to that one thing it's truly impossible, and we cling on to that. Why don't we choose something that is here already in our lives and be just okay with it? Because the level of degree we take our dreams and to suffer for them, that's unhealthy and that's obsession. And let not any spirituality and mysticism or my own trait tell you that it should be like, because it shouldn't. No, it should. We can. The key to manifesting and blah 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 shouldn't be to ignite our beings into a sacred obsession. Ancient Greeks did not have any other choice. We do, because we have more water, trained water, patience, wisdom. But ultimately, this Pollux is telling us, let's try to consume and as in feed ourselves with what we kind of have. Let's release the total impossible. But all of us are doing it. It doesn't matter who we are, even the wisest of the wisest and even the unwisest are actually doing it correctly, because they can only rely on instinct. Instinct doesn't cheat. Instinct tells you just to be. Just to be. Just to be. The rest of us can't. And this is where what we necessarily want to block out from society, the homeless, the animal, the filth. How much of an illusion and joke is it on us that it's the other way around in the eyes of the cosmos? We are the filth. Because it takes a good degree of cowardice to live in our comfortable homes and think we're heroes and kings and philosophers. And no, we're just in our homes. We're our in body in Capricorn realm, we're in our homes, and that's it. Our soul is in the cause, and our soul is like doing every right, absolutely. However, you know what I mean. Yeah, the hero, prophet, warrior, dragon slayer, truth speaker, healer. Yeah, but we are in a shell of comfort even when we're doing the stuff. Like healer, right? You're going to the healer's salon, retreat, whatever, or a place chosen that is max comfortable in nature. 300 years or plus ago, snow, rain, blizzard. The healer lived in the mountains alone because every healer lived. Sorry, if you didn't make the journey to him, you died. Right? However, if you had the power to summon him, no problem. He went through the blizzard. But in today's day and age, that adventure part of the blizzard and is absent totally. We see it in movies. You see how modern art, movies and shows and make us so poor that we are almost like rattling skeletons. We're that poor. We cannot generate for ourselves even the slightest fantasy. And when we do, it's very dirty. But because we're starved, we are just dished out books and everything. We don't need to create it ourselves at all. Internally, we're lazy. In a Neptunian sense, we are vegetables just. Sorry for this criticism, but Pollux, this is what Pollux is actually saying. Pollux will say these things and it will point them out to us collectively and individually alike. And where are we very lazy and delusional in the sense that we live in a dimension of comfort and well-being? Of course, we're unhappy. Without the adventure of life, we don't need each other. We literally don't need each other. We only need each other's sympathy. A few hundred years, we depended on, like, if you didn't cuddle up to whoever you could. You froze to death in certain winters. Bye. It doesn't. No one. No, nothing mattered. Would you find a warm body to cuddle up to? Everything was a-okay. The person's, I don't know, ideologies, religion, colors, smell, nothing really mattered. Everything went. Everything was a-okay. When life depends on it, everything is super fine. Everything is happy. Nothing is a problem anymore. When we live in a dimension of comfort, then everything's a problem. Even the slightest unhappiness makes us an enraged beast inside. The mind, especially. The mind gets into the storm of overthinking. But Pluto is dishing this out to us. So the Sabian symbol of this full moon, this is where things will get complicated a bit, but in the best possible way. A woman and two men dancing and having fun on an island facing the south. So in sunlight. How beautiful. Cancer. We add to this Cancer and Neptune. Immediately, those who know astrology are smiling a bit because, yeah, this is where we get a moment of respite, or there's love in the picture. Absolutely. But for some people, well, this sextiles Uranus. And look at the Sabian symbol. What happens if a couple kind of has a crush on someone? You know, couples, well, are meant to be literally united and as one, but that also involves at certain times when the universe is full of tricks, that, well, if you're one, that one can have a crush on another one. So this is when things get very complicated, but in a really sweet way, right? Because when reality is very, very sad in so very many ways, then the universe wants to add a bit of honey, bit of play, a bit of nice surprises, which you would never in a million years think that it's possible, and it was possible. Sun is trining Uranus. So again, from Capricorn, right? Sun in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus. This means that indirectly Venus is involved. Venus is in Pisces. Now she's very unbound in romance and anything's possible. This is when Venus is where, well, Venus is love. Love has a mind of her own. Venus was born from the family jewels of Uranus, which means she is so free, more free than Uranus himself. So she doesn't care about rules, regulations, what is natural or not, what is moral, religion, absolutely not. But she's very close to Saturn, which means that she's careless, but in the most benevolent way. So this energy can bring so much sweetness in certain souls' life that enjoy whatever happens, enjoy every second of it, right? But besides the playful third party type of energy that can manifest from this combination, this can also represent the spirit of communion and collaboration, cooperation. We are one, we are a family, we are just humans, we are people and we understand each other, right? And on an island. That also means that small groups need each other, but don't be solo. So the empowerment lies in smaller groups. But you can imagine that the love The sheer frequency of love, anything like this can generate, anything like that, a celebration, a party, coming together to help someone, doing something in the community, charity, anything cancer and of that type. So there's a lot of good in the air. And it's not just Uranus who sextiles the moon, but Uranus is conjunct a dwarf planet Lempo. Now, understand Lempo as a very, very benevolent incubus, right? A sexual, sensual deity who loves to play tricks. And if we add the Sabian symbol to it, if we add that the sun trines Lempo, the universe will be full of fun and games at this full moon. Thankfully, because we had enough of. But I'm saying all this fantasy and niceness in itself, collectively speaking, this is an extremely angry energy and it will cause rebellion and unrest and protest and fight and boil. It will boil the problems big time. Thank you. Like everything good that I'm saying is in this context because this is in the background. But do you see why we need then the different? Um, so Lempo will be playing tricks in love and sensuality, but exactly in a non-solo way, where it doesn't come solo. You think you're safe in a good sense, of course, but no, it doesn't matter that they're married, right? Or it doesn't. Nothing matters here. When love is on the love can do anything, especially in the positive way. And the sun is conjunct. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, Erakoth or something like that. A very weird trans-Leptunian object where the name just means sky in an indigenous language, like native to Minnesota or something like that. Um, I think it's Minnesota. I'm not one, and the Americas. So sky, what comes from the sky? Because the light of the sun illuminating the full moon is definitely one of it. And it is to the degree conjunct an asteroid, and we know her, Persephone, Persephone. Now we know Persephone's legend, and Persephone also ties into love is where usually it isn't. So again, what happens under this full moon in matters of love, romance, family, integrating, right? Integrating someone plus one. For many people, it's pet. In the sense that they didn't want a pet, but the puppy found them. The stray kitten, the pet enters their lives, and there it is, eternal love, part of the family there, and then everyone is happy. For other people, will play out, and by all means, this can be adoption. Finally, the child, but also the couple, find themselves, find each other. And the adoption is Jupiter and Gemini very quick. But this can, Venus and Pisces, this can play out in so very many ways. So this is what but Persephone is also a prophetess, a sorceress. She is the protege of Hecate. So a seer, an oracle, a midwife, a guardian of the souls of the dead. And this is where we immediately start getting serious. And she is just an Esther. But the name Persephone is almost like I'm saying, I don't know, Ptolemy in astrology. I wanted to think of like, or Nostradamus, right? When I say Persephone in the, how you call it, beyond the veil, the netherworld, or the other side, the land of the dead, she is like Mother Teresa. You know, when I'm so sorry to say this, so please forgive me, but this is actually, I'm sharing the spiritual vision and knowledge that was bestowed upon me by the Spirit. So even though I feel the need to actually share this, wars are going on in so very many parts of the world, which means that some, in this case, soldiers, well, they don't just end, but they end in certain situations where the soul is so, I don't know the appropriate word to use here, because how do you even define this? Disgusted or profoundly, ultimately, in a divine way, disappointed with everything that means the earthly experience, even its very creation, that it will want to, in a sense, alienate for the rest of eternity. However, the soul midwife, Persephone being one of them, is gonna find the soul of the soldier and heal him, explaining her own unique way on us. Of course, this is a soul. But I have to use a human language, explaining that you must forgive because the aggressor and blah, blah, blah. And then the soul finds forgiveness if someone from the mortal plane moves at least a neuron, sparks up at least a neuron for, I don't know, to send an honor or what, at least a thought. If it's there, Persephone, that her job, the soul can not necessarily move on, but start healing. And this is happening now. And this Persephone is in the heart of the sun. Persephone is the sun is Persephone. Persephone's vibe, power, frequency, and she's shining her light on the moon in the moon, portal of all emotion and soul and water and life. Her home sign of Cancer, the cosmic cradle, the cradle inside of us, the part of the inner sky that makes us want to be parents, right? And give the unconditional, infinite, eternal love to the child. Persephone illuminates the full. So this kind of means that we'd better step up in love, right? Because who is Persephone's husband? But no, no, who is her mother, right? So we better do her proud. We better accept her inspiration, because what does this mean? Opposition. She will point out in our lives where to place our love in a very gentle, subtle, discreet, very, very noble woman, ladylike manner. If we're wise, we will follow on her subtle lead to where it is that we can give love the most. I think I kind of covered what I wanted to cover. So again, this energy is profoundly healing. This energy squares Chiron. So what does that mean? Well, on one hand, it T-squares Chiron. On one hand, Chiron has been triggered all of 2024. An eclipse on Chiron. Say no more, and rest of the aspects. That's big energy, because we were an open wound of the self. Who am I? What am I? And what it means to be someone, not in social, political, modern context, but just as a being, as an animal, just as an Aries, as an animal. If an animal doesn't know how to be, dies immediately. You know, when animals just get depressed, lay down, and in a few hours they're dead. As if, I don't know. And it happened so quickly. Yesterday, the animal was its happy, joyful self. Then it's simply gone. One moment. So, you know what I mean? That is cured by being. So, we better be. We learned a lot of lessons. We learned a lot of things about the self and what the self does to the self, when to not to listen to other people's, and Aries, Chiron in Aries. Well, if the whole of society and modern world is your enemy, then is your enemy. But that doesn't mean to blow it up. That means to keep yourself as you are, even if they want to nullify you. Your spirit, your dream, your identity, you whatever inside of you. It doesn't mean to, it means to simply survive with grace. They couldn't change you, and you didn't move a finger against them. That's the ultimate victory. That means the triumph of the self. That is what Chiron is telling us under this full moon. Well, how can this play out? People who don't usually accept help, you better accept help. Especially because under this full moon, you would think that it will come in a brute way, because it's a square, T-square. However, no, it might come in such a lovely way that that's the problem, right? I'm not believing this. He is not real because he's too nice to be true, or she did not tell me this compliment, or this can't be true. I'm either dreaming, or this is some kind of weird setup, or, you know, you say no to the date because they're simply too nice. I don't deserve this. You can see how the T-square, the I don't deserve this, can really mess up the situation and ruin this full moon for you. It, like, that's the square. Accept it or not. But it can also be brutal sometimes. Absolutely. This is when now I'm again gonna enter very dangerous territory. Sometimes a parent has to discipline the child physically because that's energy, right? But you need a lot of love. When you slap the child's wrist, when you spank the child, you must do it with maximum love, because otherwise, then is when you will raise a monster. So don't spill your anger at your love. When you discipline a child, you discipline it with love. But sometimes this child needs the physicality, especially a boy. Otherwise, you are not gonna say absolutely anything to the divine masculine, just that he can outsmart you every single moment. When the butt is spanked, then he likes it and cooperates. Nature. Every animal raises their child as their instinct tells them, not the textbook. So my advice, raise your child what your instinct tells you, not the textbook. But because Cancer is anything that has to do with children, I think this is going to be very much the case in many people's lives. The children will play up big time. So what do you do? How do you proceed with the child? And this is where it's not, the advice is not in the astrology. It's in your instinct. Apply what you feel, right? But this Chiron T-square can play out in so many other ways in our lives, because simply said, life will test us, but through the self, how seriously we took the healing. all the healing lessons. And finally, to close it, last but not least, at the moment of this full moon, something big happens and the moon is going to trine it. The nodes of the moon entered finally into Pisces, Virgo axis. So this is a big shift to water. And the full moon, a watery full moon, is going to just amp this up max. We're going to be swimming in this energy. But I'll be speaking more about the expression of the nodes in Pisces Virgo axis later on, especially when I get a chance to make a video. So thank you everyone, and thank you so much, Rachel. Oh my goodness, Rachel. I don't know. I'm simply shocked. I don't even know what to say. Just thank you so much.